if you've invested like 6 months or a year, and then you see something come up that maybe is not ideal, like part of you still like, well, some people, like you said, are avoidant. And as soon as something that's not 100% Instagram friendly comes up in a relationship, they want to bail and go back on the dating apps. Like, mind you, I can't imagine why people want to get back on those apps. But like, but sometimes it's even like, okay, let's say that's one thing, and they're like, oh, is there something else? And then there's a couple things you're like, well, I could live with a couple things. And sometimes the apps are the deterrent, where you're
Right.
like, okay,
Totally.
they're a little angry of a person, but God, I don't want to download Tinder or
Yes.
whatever new app is coming up. And so I think there's also some of that where people are like, I'm just gonna suck it up and try this for a while
Yeah.
until things are actually sometimes too bad. Because I think even in the best relationships I've seen, especially the ones that go for a long time, there's always going to be these peaks and valleys. And so
Totally.
people, I think, are always thinking like, okay, am I in a valley now, or is this just where I live? And I don't think
Yes.
there's any way for people to know that until you find you're in a valley, then all of a sudden you go lower, and you're like, oh fuck,
Totally.
okay, now there's a bit of a bit of an issue. And I don't think any of us really know how to think about that, because,
Totally.
and this is why I've really, in the last several years, I've really stopped doing this to friends, because I've seen people, when like guys or girls are talking about a partner, and friends will know their partner, and those people will try to, oh yeah, but John's great, or Lisa's great,
Yeah.
or what, all these things. I don't say that anymore, because I realize like all of us as friends, we only see the trailer, and our
Exactly.
friends have to watch the movie every
Yeah.
night. And like you said, if you're close to someone that you have this like um, vulnerable disposition towards, someone that you love, someone that rejection could cause serious pain, it will bring up all these other things, like you said, like attachment types, and all these things. And so like, who knows what any of us are like in a
Totally.
relationship. And so I just try to be like, well, they seem nice to me, but if things aren't great, then maybe you should think about that. And then I just like want to back out of the situation, like Homer into the bush,
Yeah.
because I would never
Totally.
want to tell someone, I think that person's amazing, you
Yeah.
should make sure you hold on to them. Meanwhile, they're emotionally abusive, or all, and like
Totally.
on both, like for men and women, I've seen
Yeah.
this happen. So I try to tread very lightly.
Yeah, I think that's really wise. I loved your analogy of like the trailer versus the movie. And what I often will tell clients, because I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, so often I'll say like, "Hey, would you choose this person as a co-founder? Like, is this somebody that you would want to build with?" Because essentially, that's what a relationship is. Yes, you're building a relationship, but ideally, you're building things together. Even if you don't choose to have a family, which many of us hopefully will choose that. Sorry, I say hopefully for myself, but
Yeah.
hopefully for anybody who wants to have that. But also there are a lot of people who are choosing to be childless by choice. And for them, it might be, hey, like we just want to build like a really beautiful life together where we travel, or where we, flip houses, or where we build a company together that is like really meaningful and has an impact, or we just, become real sort of researchers of ourselves and we go around doing ayahuasca retreats or whatever it is. Like, but either way, this is a person that you're building with, and you want to be able to have the characteristics that you would need, or the traits that you would need to be able to build with someone. And that's going to be, for one,
Right.
communication is going to be huge. You need to be able to communicate with that person, and they need to be able to have enough self-awareness and equanimity, or be able to sit with their difficult emotions enough to be able to have difficult conversations. And you need to have respect for your partner and to feel respected by your partner. You need to be able to compromise. You need to be able to, like, at times be like, hey, you know what, like, I'm not going to get necessarily exactly what I want, but I know that my partner wants this and I want that. Is there somewhere we can meet in the middle, and vice versa? So there's kind of a whole
Right.
list there. And that's usually what I will offer to a lot of my clients, is this idea of like, hey, would you choose this person as a co-founder? Can you build together? And that allows us to focus a bit more on like the relationship than the person, because yeah, like in isolation, a person could be amazing, just like you said, for your friends, partners, or whatever. But it's really about the partnership. It's about the relationship dynamic, where you
Right.
actually get to determine, hey, is this going to work long term?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's the unknown of it all. Like
Yeah.
especially if you're not married. If you're married, then there's some level of control that people think they have. That I'm in this relationship. We took this vow. We have a couple kids. We're going to get married forever. And all of
Yeah.
a sudden, someone wakes up one day, and they're, in their 40s or whatever, and they want to just turn over their whole life.
Yep.
and they're like, this marriage is
Totally.
not in what my plan today, and
Yeah.
it was yesterday, and I'm sorry, I have to go. Sometimes it has nothing to do with the relationship, I've seen. And
Totally.
I think that's scary for a lot of people. I think for
Yeah.
people who want, I think all of us want some sort of safety and confidence that the person we love have invested in is going to be there.
Yeah.
But like, I think I always think of the thing that like love is a verb. It's something you need to practice. It's
Absolutely.
not something that just exists all the time. Like you can love someone and appreciate them, but like not want to live with them and not want to be with them. Like there's all of these things
Totally.
that are so complicated. I think that's why I don't know. I've become a bit cynical with especially the last couple of relationships, but like I think I'm also very much a romantic at heart. Like I really do think that like a relationship that works well, I think there's a bit of magic and alchemy involved. Because like
Totally.
as all the things we were just talking about, like how people grew up were differently, different countries, different socioeconomic backgrounds, different parenting styles, all these things. And so for two people to meet in a bar or on an app or wherever, and for it to work for so long, I think that's amazing. And I do think it's a
Yeah.
bit of magic because, like, by all other standards, it probably shouldn't work.
Yeah, totally. Magic, communication, commitment, like there are a lot of things in there. I think some of it is very much chance, of course. Like it's a gamble. Like it really is. I
Right.
mean, again, I feel I
Actually, hold
share
on.
some
So
of
if I can
okay,
stop for a
good. Yeah,
second,
of course.
you know what? By one word you said, and I realized that I would need to update that opinion because you said communication after I said
Mhm.
magic and alchemy, and yeah, maybe that really is it. It's less magic and it's less like it's more like listen to yourself and just really hard work, continually
Totally.
to work and invest in all these things. And yeah, maybe I need to
And well,
stop thinking so much
and
alchemy.
that's again I mean, I think alchemy could be a synonym for some of those things, and commitment is a huge piece as well, right? Like I think that's why marriage implies commitment, right? Like marriage implies, okay,
Hmm.
I'm gonna be in this for better or worse. Now that isn't always what happens, and I don't certainly judge anyone for leaving something when things are worse. We can't predict what's going to happen, right? I mean, we just like we can't predict that our partner might not have a heart attack or get hit by a car one day, 3 or 5 or 10 or 15 years into our marriage. We also can't predict that at some point they might, go through a really challenging time and not really be able to find their way out of it, or
Yeah.
decide that they want to stop investing in the relationship or have an affair, or whatever it is, which by the way many people find their ways through infidelity and betrayal and affairs and all of that. But we just like we are trying to predict and be certain that like the person that we are with today will be the person we are with when we die. The reality is at one point one of us is going to die before the other one anyway, so like it's not, you're going to at some point go through grief unless you're the person or outlived by your partner. But
Right.
we're trying to protect ourselves from the pain of loss, from the pain of uncertainty, from the pain of rejection, from the pain that just comes along with being human in relationship. And the reality is like there are certainly things we can do that are within our control, but we don't have total ultimate control where we can absolutely guarantee that we're going to be with somebody forever or for as long as we live.